Okay. Let's see if we're streaming to the right place now. All right. So it should pop up any minute. Good to go. Popping up. All right. So once again, we're going to talk about pitching banks. You'll need to pitch banks. You got to get used to pitching banks. You got to get used to being in rooms with people that have money, that have power, that have influence. These are the people that need to be in your inner circle. You need to be remarkably comfortable talking with these people and dealing with these people. If you're uncomfortable talking with them, talk with them anyway. Never let fear stop you. If you allow fear to stop you, you will never progress past that fear. Okay. So we're going to talk about pitching banks to get money to buy your food truck, to establish your business. All businesses, unless you have a rich uncle, have to do this. Or if you're going to just start on a small scale, which, I guess you could start on a small scale trying to get a license to sell out of your kitchen, but that could take you forever. You always want to start on a big scale, as big as you possibly can. So you will need the bank. You'll make a lot more money a whole lot faster than thinking small. All right. So, your food truck bank pitch. Remember, banks do not fund excitement, they fund proof. I've had so many people come in and over, 30 years of business. Like I said, when I was 10 years old, I got into, been doing business since I was 10, buying and selling. You get people that are excited. And I owned a recording studio. You're going to hurt your eyes with your face that close to the screen. You'd be blind by your time you're 40. So I remember people coming in. I owned a recording studio, and I would get recording artists come in, and they would go, "Hey man, check out my demo." I used to have a string in my recording studio, a speaker wire, and all over that. I mean, huge was just demos that I had received. People walk up to me in a Walmart because they knew I owned a recording studio, and I was I'd become a famous producer, and executive producer, and did music videos and all this other stuff. So they would always come in, "Hey man, sign me to your record label. Sign my record label to your distribution company. Hey man, produce my album. We're going to be rich. I'm so talented. We're going to be rich." And everybody's excited, as well as they should be. But banks don't fund excitement. They fund proof. So no, I wasn't just letting them come in and just go, "Hey, I'm excited about this. Just spend money on me." And everybody wanted me to spend money on them and record them and produce them and do all this stuff because we're going to be amazing and I'm going to be rich. It's like, but yeah, you don't have a following. You've never recorded a song. Your mama thinks you're talented, but I don't. Not without proof. Or they come in, "Here's my demo. I'm going to be huge." Well, I had a string of demos, hundreds and hundreds of demos. It'd be different if you came in and said, "Hey, I have a demo tape of my music," or better yet, I don't have a demo. I have a 3-song, back then it would be like EPs and LPs. We don't even know what that is, but 3 songs on a disc, and I've released them. I'm doing shows. I have a faithful following of 50 to 100 people that follow me around show to show. Things are great. I'm making waves, and that's a little more intriguing than, "Hey, I'm just talented," or, "Hey, I've actually recorded, I got a demo." To say, "Hey, I've released a product, I've packaged, distributed, released, and marketed a project, and I have a following. It's not a massive following, but I'm stirring the pot. I got something." That's not me just going, "I'm excited, I'm talented, I got it." It's me going, "Hey, man, I'm producing." Does that make sense? You can go in your bank and go, "Give me $1 million. I'm making the best drinks or ices or cokes or whatever. Fill in the blank. I'm amazing. I'm going to be amazing." And they'll just go, they'll look at you and go, "Well, good for you." Everybody that comes into this office says they're going to be amazing. Everyone we've ever lost money on said they were going to be amazing. They need a little bit more than your excitement. They're going to have your concept. Do you have the slides up? They're going to your concept. Does the owner sound prepared, professional, and trustworthy? Prepared, professional, trustworthy. Do they sound prepared, professional, and trustworthy? Right? You got to be hungry about your business. You got to be, I tell you, I see hundreds and hundreds. I've taught, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of students over the years. And I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands of business owners. And I've worked with hundreds and not thousands of excited and hopeful people. And a tiny percentage actually make it. Tiny percentage actually make it. Ask me why. Or why do you think that is? Give me some feedback. Why do you think only a tiny percentage make it? Some people aren't confident enough. Yes, so they're not confident, so they don't pursue their dreams hard enough. Their excitement doesn't match their sales. Okay. They're trying to make millions and they're only selling $10. Okay. What else? Majority of businesses fail. Tell me why. I don't break down the numbers. We had a guy in here, right? Said, "Hey, man, I've opened up multiple restaurants. They've all closed." And he said, "I'd never done the analysis that you taught me." He's a good buddy of mine. But unless he learns what we're teaching, he'll keep opening up restaurants over and over and failing. Right? He has other successful businesses, so he doesn't need the money. But if he wants to be successful in the restaurant business, he needs a little bit more information. Right? Or keep burning through money and hoping one day it sticks. Or some other reasons. You're in competition with other people and it's not about how much they're making. It's about how hungry they are. Look around you. When you guys started this class, there's more people and everybody was excited. We're going to do this. We're going to launch. We're going to open up our food truck entrepreneurship business. We're going to buy food trucks. We're going to learn. We're going to grow. And then there were none, right? Or in this case, there were few. What happened? People realize it's a commitment. You got to wake up and go to class. Duh. What did you think? That going to school meant that you weren't going to go to school? I'm going to have homework to do. I have to deal with other people. I have to have stick-activity. All the things that makes me successful in school makes me successful in business. Right? That's the way life is. When it came to the music business, if I had 5,000 artists that came and, we did a showcase and had 5,000 artists and they come and go, "I'm going to be the next Aaliyah." That's way, y'all probably don't know about that. What's somebody, I'm going to be the next Adele or be the next, big Rihanna or Beyonce or whatever. I'm going to be the next big thing, right? And we go, "Hey, well, you need to create," I would tell them, "Well, you need an album." Right? It's going to be $500 a song. 12 albums is $6,000. Because you need to have an album produced, recorded, mixed, mastered. And that's normally, you could pay $5,000, $10,000 a song. But at the time, we were doing songs fully produced for $500, which is dirt cheap. And we were doing it at a remarkably high quality. We had one of the best mixed mastering houses on the East Coast, right? Yep. You got to love the business, not just the food. Well, I think that's absolutely right. People's efforts go down. Why do you think people's efforts go down? That's it. Well, I think the fantasy is always better than the reality. It's always, "I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be a 5-star chef like Gordon Ramsay. I'm going to be a huge artist like Beyonce," until you realize Beyonce can't eat whatever she wants because she needs to look good. She has to work out. I don't want to work out. She has vocal training. I got to be in the studio till 2 a.m. I'm missing time with it. Like when you see that there's work behind it, it becomes a problem, right? I want to be the next Maverick City Music, and you realize that they're on tour. They're missing their family. I want to be the next Brandon Lake, right? And you realize like, hey, they're on tour. They're missing their family. They're doing vocal training. They're running around. They're doing all of this stuff. But when I was doing the music business, these were a lot of secular artists before, only did start producing Christian music. But yeah, people don't realize the amount of work it is needed to achieve their dreams. And then when they're faced with it, they go from I'm walking toward my dream to let me go back to my fantasy world. And this is what people think. People are like, well, I'm going to quit this. I'll quit going to class, or I'll just take another route. I'm going to get it another way. And they'll go from actually pursuing their dream to retreating back to that point where it was just a fantasy. Because it's easier to just, man, this is not the right timing, but one day I'll be famous. One day I'll be rich. One day I'll have a business. One day. It's so beautiful to just stand and fantasize. So much harder to actually be taking steps, one foot in front of the other, because there's no way to jump and be to the end and be successful. They be selling that in liquid bottles to everybody for $1 billion, right? There's no way. Everybody has the hard work of day in, day out, doing the work to get there. This is much harder to do than to just stand over there and dream. So that's why a lot of people don't make it. That's why if we did an artist thing, 5,000 artists would come. And then we go, all right, this is how much it costs. That means you're going to have to probably get a night job. And just means you're going to be able to pay for it. That means you're going to have to get up and start exercising and running to get your body in shape. Not just for looks, for you can take a photo, but so that you can be on stage for 2 hours singing and jumping around and dancing and not be winded. I went to see guys who were like overweight and trying to sing and they'll just sing a song. Then they might get someone else to sing the song. And then they can't really move that much. And they'll maybe sit down and sing. And it's okay if you're older, but you're not trying to see somebody that's still young and in their prime not be able to do a good show, right? So it takes more than just talent. Are we making sense? It takes more than just talent. Okay, it takes work and a lot of it. The winner is always the one who works the hardest. Always. The winner is not the one that's more talented. There's more beautiful models, better, songwriters, there's better singers, but the ones that win, that get the Grammys and the Oscars are the ones that work the hardest normally. Banks do not fund excitement. They fund proof. Banks do not fund excitement. They fund proof. So you need your concept. In the borrow, does the owner sound prepared, professional, and trustworthy? When you go there and say, I'm certified to do this, you're like, all right, yeah, I went to school just for food truck entrepreneurship. Do you think that's going to be a big win for them? It's going to be huge when you show that to the bank, right? I'm not just somebody that says, hey, I want to do this. I'm someone who's studied, been trained, and prepared to do this, right? That's just additional. Doesn't mean they're just going to open up their wallets and give you money, but it does mean that they realize you're just not some fly by night or some random person with an idea, right? So you sound prepared. When you walk in and you have your perspectives, yeah, you're going to sound prepared. You're going to sound prepared. Do you sound trustworthy? Do you go in there and you go, well, yeah, man, just give me the money and I'm going to figure it out? I'm like, you don't sound trustworthy. It sounds like we're going to give you this money and you're going to be in a back alley somewhere selling, cell phones to try to make $1. Do you know, hey, I'm going to spend this amount of money on my equipment. Remember when we looked at our equipment and we did all of that? Do you think they're going to want to know that? Do you think they're going to want to know where their money's going? Probably, right? Right? So everything we've done builds you to a certain point. It makes sense. You're going to need all of the stuff to present to the bank. You need to know all of the stuff as an owner. Hey, my truck costs this much. All right, what is it going to look like? Here's the design. Remember when we designed them? Here's the design. Here's what's going in there. You should all have that information. Here's the layout. Here's what's going in the truck. Here's how much my truck costs. Here's how much, and I say truck trailer, how much my food trailer costs. How much of the stuff that goes in it. This is what my flow is going to be. This is why I designed it this way. This is my menu. This is how much my menu stuff costs. Starting to make sense now? Question? That's it. They have an idea, but they have no plan. They have an idea, but have no plan. You got to have a plan. All right. Numbers. Do the menu costs, budgets, and projections make sense together? Do the menu costs, budget, projections make sense together? Does it make sense? That's, if you're saying, hey, I'm going to spend 15,000 in equipment, 30,000 on the truck. I'm going to sell $5 tacos, and I'm going to sell 2 tacos a day, because that's what the city I'm in will support. Because I've went around the other taco trucks, and I've asked them how much they're selling. They say they sell average of 2 tacos a day. And they go, well, your profit is $3 a taco. You're going to make $6 a day, but you're going to pay us back a $100,000 loan. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? All right. You put on your thinking caps today. You're making $6 a day. Can you survive off $6 a day? All right. Let's wake up. You can't decide. You can't make a living off of $6 a day. How you gonna pay back a $100,000 loan? Do the menu costs, budget, and projections make sense? Repayment after expenses. Can the business realistically service debt? You're gonna have to pay for propane. You have to pay for staff. And guess what? You can't tell the bank, I'm not going to pay myself. If you tell the bank, I'm not going to pay myself, are they going to give you the loan? Of course not. You're not even making enough money to pay yourself. Because they're thinking, when it comes down to, are you going to pay your car note and get it repossessed? Or are you going to pay your electricity and get it cut it off? Or are you going to pay us? They know you're going to pay the electric note. You're going to pay your car note. Right? So if you can't afford to pay yourself and pay them, they're not giving you the loan. Makes sense. I wouldn't loan you money if your numbers didn't make sense. Well, I'm not going to pay myself for the first year. That's a lie. You are going to pay yourself. You may not pay yourself 10 grand that you want to pay yourself every month, or 20 grand that you want to pay yourself every month, but you're going to at least make sure you take from the kitty and pay the bills that are needed. And that means if it's between us and them, if we're having to make a choice, if you're having to make a choice between us and paying them, we don't want that position. So you got to be able to pay yourself. If you say, hey, I want to pay myself starting off, I can take $60,000 a year. So I can take $5,000 a month. I can take $6,000 a year. I can live off of that. All right. So now that's $5,000 a month in your budget. I need to pay for propane. I need to buy food. That might be another $5,000 a month in your budget between propane and buying food, right? To service all of your stuff and maintenance. Maybe you hire an employee. Maybe your average is you got 15 grand a month going out. Your employee, your food, expense costs, and you. So now you have to cover at least 15 grand every month to be at zero. So if you have a $5 item with go do this calculation quickly. If you have a $5 item, and let's make it easy. You have a $10 item with a 25% food cost, which you normally want it at 23%. But say you have a $10 item with a 25% food cost. So you're making, we're not going to throw other costs in there, but just say you're making 75% off of every dollar, 75 cents a dollar with a $10 item. How many items do you need to sell to make that $15,000 every month to break even? So if you need 15 grand, and you could probably get away with 8, paying yourself, paying someone else, and then covering, but we're gonna double it. We're gonna say 15 grand. But say 15 grand, and you have a $10 item. How many of those items do you need to sell just to cover that 15 grand? So I would just teach you the zero technique, since you have 2 numbers with zeros on them. and the first number is a 1. Take the 0 off of the 10, it gives you 1. 1,500. There you go. She's cracking. Give her a high five. 1,500. All right. So it's 1,500. So I have 1,500 of these items I need to sell in a month. And that's saying that you made 100%. I told you to do at 75%, but we'll keep the math easy. So 1,500. How many do you need to sell every week? Let me help you out. Y'all need to get good at math, business people. You don't want your accountant stealing your money because you don't know how to count. You don't need to best at math, but you need to have a sense of how to add 2 plus 2. 1,500 divided by 4 gives you what? 1,500 divided by 2 is what? 750, right? 750 divided by 2 is what? 375, right? So that means 1,500 divided by 4 is 375. So that means you need to sell 375 tacos every week. How many days do you want to stay open? 5 or 6? You need to have at least one day you spend with your family and you spend with God. God first, family second, everything else third. So 375 divided by 7 is what? $75. So 375 divided by 5 is 75. All right. So that means you need to sell 75 tacos a day, right? So 75 $10 items a day. Now, if you're open, how many hours are you going to be open? All right, 10 hours a day. Smart. She's like, I'm keeping the numbers even. That was smart of you. All right, so if you're going to open 10 hours a day, how many tacos do you need to sell per hour? That 0 number again, remember? Take that 0 off, move that decimal. 7.5, 7.5 tacos a day. All right, per hour, excuse me. Do you think you could probably sell 8 tacos an hour? Well, if you sell 8 tacos an hour, that means you're going to make how much every month? What number did we start with? 15 grand, right? So if you can sell your 8 tacos an hour, it's 80 tacos a day. That'll cover out 25% food loss right there, food cost. Sell 8 tacos an hour, then guess what? You can make your 15 grand a day. If you can make your 15 grand a day, the bank will say, okay, that person can pay themselves. They can pay them bills. They can pay us, right? Because if they're going to say, hey, on a $100,000 loan, say they want, $3,000 a month from you, all right? And you say, all right, well, if they pay themselves $5,000, they pay us $3,000. That's $8,000. They pay their assistant or a little part-time worker $2,000. That's $10,500. They spend the rest, right? Boom. They have enough meat on the bone to comfortably pay themselves, pay us, buy their supplies, and they're good. So that means that now you have to understand. I've seen people do this. If you watch Shark Tank, I love Shark Tank. I've seen people do this. They try to make numbers that don't work. A person, do you think a banker who literally gives out loans for a living, do you think you're going to easily fool them? Do you think people have tried to fool them? Of course, right? You're not going to easily fool them. People have tried to fool them. People come in with excitement. People come in with fluffed up, propped up numbers, and it does not work. So what ended up happening? They go, well, we're going to sell, 75 tacos an hour because we're going to park downtown during rush hour, and it's going to be great, and we're going to take Georgia, and we're going to take Wisconsin. Yeah, right? And it's just, it's not going to work. Not going to work. So you got to bring them in real numbers. When you say, hey, I've talked to the taco truck down there and I've met with the owner and they do an average of blah, 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 blah. And I met with this taco truck in this area and I've met with the owner and they're doing an average of blah, 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 blah. So and I met with this place. I met with 3 different places. I just asked them about how many tacos they sell an hour, or what they gross an hour. And this is what they told me. And they weren't too far off from each other. Or maybe this one's parking in a better location. They're just making a killing. The average is this. So I know that this area can at least support selling 10 tacos an hour, at least. But I have an edge because I'm going to do something a little bit different. It's going to give me a little bit different, and we're going to talk about that. So every bank pitch must answer 5 lender questions. Is the concept viable? In this case, we're in San Antonio, Texas. Does San Antonio, Texas need another taco truck? Or are we inundated with taco trucks? Well, seeing how we get thousands of people move here, seem like every month, yeah, we could probably take another food truck that sells tacos. So, yeah, it's probably viable. There's a lot of them, but there's also a lot of gas stations. But since we have an influx of people, we keep building gas stations. A lot of apartments, but we keep building houses and apartments. Why? So, yeah, based on, our migration here, yeah. So the concept could be viable. Is there a clear demand? Yep, we got people here. They're hungry. There's a demand. Do you know your numbers? This is huge. What is your pricing? What are you going to sell it at? But you can't know what you're going to sell it at until you know what it costs you. What does your food cost? What is your startup budget? What are your projections? What are your margins? Margins means how much does it cost you to hand that person that Coke in that cup with that straw, with that ice, with that syrup, with that carbonation, right? When you factor in how much to pay yourself, and you factor in how much you're paying your employees, and you factor in, how much that place is charging you per month in lot rent. And you factor in when you factor in everything, how much does it cost you to hand that person a cup? Maybe you're selling that drink for $3. Maybe it costs you a nickel. Maybe it costs you a dime. Maybe it costs you a quarter. And then maybe you add another quarter onto that to cover all other expenses. And then you say, all right, I'm making $250 off of this. Or maybe I'm making $225 off of this, right? Maybe that taco, when I add in everything, maybe I'm making off of that $10, maybe I'm making $4, or maybe I'm making $5, right? So you got to know your margins. You got to know exactly how much the lettuce costs you per taco, how much the tomatoes cost you per taco, startup budget, projections, margins, right? So do you know the numbers? And guess what? They're going to ask you the numbers. You tell them I'm selling caviar. They're going to ask you how much did the plate cost you? And you're thinking, how much did the plate cost me? I'm not even thinking about the plate. I'm thinking about the caviar. Maybe I'm thinking about the branding and the brand colors and the marketing and the advertising. And they go, plate. Why would they ask you how much the plate that you serve it on costs? Why do you think they might ask you that? Still comes out of pocket, and they're going to want to know if you know your business and where your money is going. Hey, how much does that straw cost you? I see you said that it costs you $1.25 to make that drink, and you're going to sell it for $6. This is high protein, high energy drink. You're going to sell it for $6. It costs you $1.25. But how much does the straw cost? And you go, I don't know. That tells them that what? You don't know your business. You thought about the main product, but you didn't think that it has to go in a cup. You didn't think that it has to go in a lid. You didn't think that it has a straw. You didn't think that you're going to hand out napkins. You didn't think that you're going to hand them a stir. You didn't think that some of the ingredients need to be chilled and some of them need to be heated. And both of those run different costs. Making sense? So what they say, it's all about the details. They're going to want you to know the numbers. Are you operationally ready? Permits, commissary, staffing, workflow, compliance. And if you're pitching them to open it up to buy your food truck, you won't have all of this stuff in place. But they need to know that you know about it. When you just say, hey, I'm going to need this permit, that permit, I'm going to need it. and I've already studied and I already know what it's going to cost. And this is the cost of this permit, this permit. This is how much the commissary is going to charge me. This is where I'm going to go to the commissary every morning. I'm going to staff somebody. They're going to be part-time. It's going to be a teenager. I'm just paying a minimum wage. They'll be happy to have the job. Workflow. This is what the workflow is. And I need to be compliant. I'm have my food managers, and I'm going to make sure my employee has their food handlers licenses. And we've talked about all of that. Number 5, how does the bank get repaid? The pitch must show realistic revenue and debt service capacity. That's why if you ever walk into a meeting and you tell them, I'm not paying myself, the answer is no. Because the moment you take, because the people will say that, well, you know, the biggest cost is my salary, right? So if I cut out my salary, the business is viable. But if you cut out your salary, why are you in business? I thought you got in business to make money, not to go broke. Make sense? Kind of makes sense, right? So they realize, I can't bet on you. You can't even pay yourself. You got to add that in there. The borrower needs a package, not just slides. A strong bank pitch is 3 pieces working together. All right, presentation. So you might have a slide deck like I'm using today. Support material. The material, when you hand the bank your package, it cannot just be material you generated. They do not trust you. They do not know you. They do not trust you. The information in that package has to be outside information. It can't just be your information. If you're telling them you're getting lettuce and the lettuce is 17 cents, they might go with that because, you know, there might not be the lettuce, you know, police. But if you tell them the average food truck is selling this many tacos, they may trust you, they may not. Hey, I've spoken with at Willie's Taco Shop. This is their name, number, whatever. And these are the places that I got this information from, so that they can do their due diligence to make sure, hey, this information is correct. They can easily Google how many people live in San Antonio, how many people migrate into San Antonio. So you don't, that stuff, and you can have a bibliography with that information. But people do not mean sales. You've seen this on Shark Tank. People go, well, I live in a city of 800,000. So there's 800,000 people that can buy my product. I'm going to be rich. And they go, just because there's 8,000 people, I don't mean they buy your product. Businesses go out of business every day. Having people and having people buy your product aren't the same. Does that make sense? Right. Be prepared to answer questions. Do not be combative. Listen to me. Do not be combative. These people aren't attacking you. They're trying to get information to decide if they want to lend you money. You'll see people get defensive. So how much does that straw cost? Well, that's really irrelevant, Bob. I'm selling the drink. The drink makes, I'm selling it for $6. My cost on it is $1.25. So how much the straw cost or the cup cost is really irrelevant, because there's enough profit in it. And what are they thinking? If that was you, what would you be thinking? This person doesn't know. And if they don't know how much the straw costs, they don't know how much the napkins cost. They don't know how much the napkins cost. They probably don't know how much the gas costs to move it, because they're not worried about gas prices. They don't know how much the gas price, they probably don't know what the maintenance on their food trailer is going to be every year. They're missing the details. Does that make sense? Kind of like if you were going to a place and it looked clean and you was inspected, looked clean, everything looked clean, you probably walk out, all right, this is clean. But the minute you find some mold in a corner, what are you doing now? You're looking even harder, right? You're looking like, well, there's mold right here. What else might there be, right? So the moment they go, I don't know how much the straw costs, you're like, okay, well, how much does this cost? How much does that cost, right? And you realize they're not being combative. I've seen people get defensive. Don't be defensive, because now you're angry. They're not going to give you money because they don't want to work with you. Even if all of your numbers made sense, nobody wants to work with a jerk. Nobody's lending money to someone that they don't like and don't trust. They're asking questions not to hurt you. They're asking questions to see if they want to lend you money. Same thing you would do in their position. have documents, have the business plan, cost sheets, budget, projections, have the permit information. And the projections is one of the key pieces, and it needs to have outside information. You can't just go, hey, we need to sell 8 tacos an hour to make money, so we're just going to sell 8 tacos an hour. They're going to go, how? And you need to be able to back that up. You can say, hey, the average taco truck in San Antonio sells 6 tacos an hour. That puts us at a deficit of 2 tacos. And you need to acknowledge the negatives, because they need to understand that you've thought about the negatives. Does that make sense? You need to acknowledge them. You don't need to just try to pass over them. Because then they're going to think you don't even know what your business is. You hadn't thought about it. You need to acknowledge, like, hey, the average taco truck in San Antonio, and I'm just making this up, sells 6 tacos an hour. We need to sell 8. That puts us at a deficit of 2, but that's fine. The average taco truck also does no marketing, no advertising, and has no branding. They're just grandma in there or uncle in there selling food trucks. I've been to them. I've talked to them. We are going to have branded. Our vehicle is going to be totally wrapped. We're going to run $250 worth of ads every single week in the zip code that we're going to be in that week. And we have deals with 2 different HOA agencies to park at the head of their community of 600 people every weekend. And that's how we're going to make up the 2 taco deficit every hour. Do you think that's going to give them some more confidence? Probably a whole lot more confidence, right? They're going to go, wait. All right, so you already know your market. You know your food costs. And you also know what you're up against. You're not just coming in there like, we're just going to do it. And it's like, all right, okay. You're coming in there going, hey, we're going to do it, and this is how. We know what we're up against. We know that business is dog eat dog, and we're prepared. We're not just going in there bright-eyed and bushy-tailed thinking that we're going to make it happen. We know what we're doing. We got a plan. And then they're going to ask you questions, and be calm with the questions. And if they hit you with something that you don't know, do not try to bluff these people. If you don't know how much a straw costs, go, Bob, that's an incredible question, and I should know that. I'm going to make a note of it here, and I'll have that to you the next time we meet up. Isn't that a better answer than being defensive? Well, that doesn't matter, Bob. Well, it matters because he asked it to you, right? It matters to him, the guy that's cutting the check. So don't get defensive. Hey, Bob, that's a great question. I should know that. Hey, I should know how much that straw costs. Don't be like, well, that doesn't matter, because then it's like, all right, it doesn't matter. Knowing your business doesn't matter. That's what he's thinking, right? Even if he doesn't say it. So don't be defensive. Hey, Bob, that's a great question. I should absolutely know how much that straw costs. Next time we meet up, I will. And then you can just transition to something else. Great question. Anyone else has a question, right? You just keep on moving. Don't get defensive. All right. Core sections of borrow must include in the bank pitch. That is you. Of course, your business name, concept, owner, the mission, and funding, which they will be a part of. Your startup budget, truck, equipment, permits, inventory, everything you need to start up. Credibility, your work history, your certifications. Hey, I graduated from GSE specifically for food truck entrepreneurship. I've been taught this stuff, right? Exact amount requested, the exact amount you need. Well, I need about $80,000. No, you need to go, I need $82,365, and I've attached an Excel spreadsheet itemizing it all. Itemizing that I need, 2 pounds of lettuce, and which at this cost from this vendor. This much seafood from this wholesaler in San Antonio, right? This much, and I need this much for the truck, this much for the tires, this much for the insurance on the business, this much insurance on my personal truck that's pulling a trailer, this much insurance on the trailer, and have it itemized down with every permit and everything you need down to the penny. And we've added in 5% for overruns, which means expenses you didn't expect. We added in 5% for overruns. So it was, 80,000, and now we put in 80. It's 84,000, just in case we missed something. And you want to be exhaustive. All right, market opportunity, target customer, service locations, local demand, timing. Where are you going to park that's different than where everybody else parks? Or maybe you need to park where everybody else parks because they're winning, right? prep, flow, service flow, staffing, commissary, food, safety, hours, all that good stuff. Menu and pricing, we go over that extensively. Marketing. Hey, I'm gonna run $250 worth of ads every week. Or hey, I've signed a contract with, or I've got gonna sign a contract with blah 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 marketing agency. And they're gonna build out branding and campaigns for Instagram, campaigns for Facebook, campaigns for YouTube, and we're gonna spend $250 with them as their cost per week, and $250 in ads to TikTok and social media and everybody else per week. They're going to run the campaign, so it's not going to take away from my time focusing on the business. They're going to run the campaign. It's going to cost a total of $500 a week, $2,000 a month. And we're going to run that, and they're going to generate new leads and businesses and so forth. Question. Okay. Marketing plan. Having a marketing plan. Recipe and food cost analysis. How you plan on repaying them, cash flow. All right. So one thing you want to do is you want to sell the story of your business and sell yourself. Even though bankers are bankers, they are still people, and they are not above being emotionally sucked into your story. They're not above the underdog. I was a woman, orphaned in the rain, left by the side of a doorstep, who walked, 2 ways uphill to survive, right? They're not above a good story. Right? Now, don't lie. Tell them a genuine story of your life. Tell them the story of the business. Now, you don't want to spend more than 2 or 3 minutes on this because you need to get into the details, but I would open up with the story. The story says, don't just care about the numbers, care about me. Because they realize you are part of the business. When a person goes to HEB, they feel something because they care about the brand. They care about the people. When people go to Bill Miller's, they care. When people go to Starbucks, they care. Me holding this little cup with the logo makes me feel important. And I want to feel important. I want to feel elite and exclusive. When I hold up my iPhone, same thing. Apple's similar in that way. I want to feel elite and exclusive. Yes, the product's great in that case. In the Apple case, the product is great. Not that it's not in the Starbucks case, but in the Apple case, it's excellent. But it also makes me feel important. It makes me feel like premium, and I have good stuff. Right? You want them to feel for you and feel for the brand. And then you want to back it up with the numbers. So now you want to get them like, all right, I actually like this girl. I actually like this guy. I care about them. I want them to win. I'm rooting for them. I hope this presentation goes well because I like them. I hope them, and you've seen that on Shark Tank. I refer to it a lot because it's similar to what we're talking about today, where someone goes, Mark Cuban might go, hey, man, I like you. I hope this goes well. And he's hoping that the guy has a good pitch so that he can fund them or that someone does fund them. So give them your story. Start off with the story. Start off with something heartfelt about you and heartfelt about your food truck and heartfelt about, how you want to feed the hungry, how you're the first person in your family to launch a business, a 6-figure plus business, prospective business, 6-figure plus business or whatever. Make them care about you. And also, if your story is really good, not only will the bank care, the lender care, the customer will care, right? That's why HEB uses, and if you're somewhere watching this where there's no HEB, it's our grocery store, but people love HEB like they love their grandma here. So that story matters to the lender and it matters to the customer. Location strategy. Are you going to be in a food truck park or where are you going to be? Location matters. Location's the big one. The edge. What makes this truck more attractive than competitors or substitutes? So what makes your tacos better? Everybody can put avocado on their tacos. Why is your avocado taco better? Right? Yeah. And, somebody was mentioning triple filtered. I was looking at filters yesterday for about an hour because we were looking at a whole house filter and a soft water filter for our home because the water here in San Antonio is trash. When it comes to hard water, it's great water. You can drink it, but has a lot of calcium in it. So it gets all over your appliances, right? And gets all over your house. We have a stainless steel refrigerator. So you see the water droplets every time the kids, it's just hard. It's horrible with the hard water. So we want a water softener and we want to put in a triple filter system. But that's a marketing thing. So with marketing, you got to realize every single food truck is going to go best taco in town, right? So that's not going to work when everybody's saying it. But not everybody's saying we got triple filtered water. So what if you put that at, hey, every recipe that we have here is made with triple filtered water. They go, oh, that's so you put an extra filter, and you can do this, and coffee shops do this when we build coffee trucks. They put in filters for their coffee. So it's municipal water, but it's filtered through these filters before it goes into their coffee, the expensive espresso machines, right, to hand out, right? So, but what if you made all of your food that way? It's like, hey, all of our water that we use in our food is triple filtered. I go, oh man, that's what's up. What if you said, and 5% of everything we sell goes to orphans in Uganda? Right? You start making it bigger than just the food. Tom's shoes. Every pair of shoes you buy, not only are these shoes great, every pair of shoes you buy goes to help a kid. Right? Isn't that huge? So how do you make it bigger than just your food truck? You got to have an edge. Our water is triple filtered. 5% of our proceeds go. And actually, everything needs to be built into your business plan, and be truthful. To borrow, why this owner is credible, disciplined, and ready to execute. All right. Part 2, prove the market and the competitive edge. Define the target customer clearly. What do we call them? Mike, right? Who is my Mike? Mike, M-I-C, my ideal customer. Who's your Mike? Maybe your Mike is a 35-year-old Latino man that works in construction. So then you design your taco menu around him. 35 Latino man that works in construction. What kind of tacos he likes? He might not want a avocado water with a Topo Chico, with a spritzer. That might not be his bag, right? So what does Mike want? He probably wants a bean and cheese. Maybe he wants a potato and egg. Maybe he's just, he wants grandmama staples with a Coke. Right? So we're going to make his staples, but we're going to put a twist on it. We're going to make his staples, but they're going to be triple filtered water. We're going to make his staples, but we're going to put them in a bag that where he can eat it like In-N-Out burger, where you can eat in your car, because he might be eating on the go. I love that In-N-Out do that. I thought In-N-Out food was terrible when they first came to Texas, and it was. But I think they've kind of made it a lot better to the point where I now will go every once in a while. When I get tired of eating anything else, I will stop at In-N-Out, right? I don't eat a lot of fast food. I don't think it's good for the body, good for the brain, but I'm not above eating it, and I'm not above eating In-N-Out. They're now in one of the places that I would go. And one thing they ask you, are you going to eat? You want somewhere you can eat it in your car? And I like that. They're thinking that, hey, they're In-N-Out. Her name is In-N-Out. We're going to get you In-N-Out. If you're on lunch, In-N-Out. You can park in front of your job and eat. Or if you're driving down the road, you can just reach over and take a bite, right? Which I don't know how safe that is, but I do it all the time. Grabbing a bag and eating those fries, right? So think about your Mike. And you ask the question, there's a book that you should all read by Simon Sinek, or Sinek, however you pronounce his last name, S-I-N-E-K, called, what's the name of the book? Start with Why. So why am I making this food? Why am I pricing it the way I do? Why? Start with why. What's your why? Right? What's your Mike? What's your why? Because if you try to make food for everybody, you're going to make a whole lot of food and nobody's going to like it. If you're trying to make for Mike, Mindy, and Matthew, it's not going to work. I'm not saying they won't like it, but it won't work. You want to have a target market. The bank is going to be looking for you to have a target market. This is who we're aiming for. This is why. And then your target market will explain why your colors are that way. It would explain why your pricing is that way. It would explain why you cover these items and don't cover those items, right? Use logic, not generic claims. The lender wants to know why this market works for this truck. And it will work once you know who you're pitching to. Once again, if you're pitching for families, having food that appeals to families work. Hey, our food truck is San Antonio family food truck, whatever. So we have, burgers for mom and dad. And then we have, kiddie meals, what we call kiddos, whatever, right? It's a little branding for them. that comes with a toy, and that toy costs us 75 cents. We buy them in bulk, and they come hypoallergenically wrapped, and we put one in every bag, knowing that our food truck is designed for families. So we're not going to park just in front of a Walmart, because families not going to come there. We're going to park in a food truck park with slides and swings and a sitting area, because that fits our brand, right? So you got to have an understanding of your marketing and your business and why you're named that way. Okay. Show the lender the menu, recipe, discipline, and pricing logic. So we've done this. We've gone over this. Knowing what you're going to sell, why you're going to sell it, how you're going to sell it, the pricing of your lettuce, tomatoes, whatever your items are, your fish, where you're buying it from, how much every single plate costs. And not just, when I say plate, not just the physical plate or the box, the packaging, but everything. When someone orders your number 3 with avocado, what did it cost you to hand them that? The food costing of every single, and I'm not just saying lettuce was $3. No, it was 12 cents of lettuce on that plate, right? You need to know specifically for that item, for that package. All right. Part 4, connect the math from menu item to debt repayment. Menu item, the customer pays a believable price for the item. You can't go, hey man, we're selling tacos for, $45 a taco. They're going to go, why are you doing that again? Right? That might not make a whole lot of sense to them. Number 2, food cost per item. The borrower knows exact ingredients and proportions. We talk about that in detail. That was one of your homework assignments. Gross profit. You're making 60 cents a dollar, 75 cents a dollar. Daily sales volume. You go around and you find out what the market handles. Other food trucks that sell what you'd sell. So you can get what they're selling and what you'll probably sell if you do it exactly their way, which you're going to do it a little bit better. Your monthly operating costs, labor, fuel, commissary, insurance, maintenance, and net operating costs. Enough cash remains to build the business and service debt. What does service debt mean? It means pay off your debt, pay back your debt. All right, part 5, build the startup. The build the startup budget and exact funding request. Truck and trailer purchase, you need to know that. Equipment packaging, we've done that already. Your items, including your point of sale system. Are you using, which point of sale system? There's a lot out there. Your permits and legal setup, your insurance and commissary, your opening inventory. Are you going to have, when you open initially, are you going to carry the standard amount of inventory or less or more, and why? Day 1 of your grand opening, are you going to carry the normal amount of inventory that you carry in any normal week? Less inventory? Because why would you say more? Hopefully, if you did your due diligence and you did your job, you're going to carry more inventory. Because if you're expecting to sell 8 tacos an hour, hopefully you're now selling 30 because you've done this big grand opening and you've done this big marketing and you've identified your Mike and you've marketed to Mike every day to the point where he can't get away from you, right? It's a big deal. And of course, you want to have some working capital. You're going to present your financial projections to the lender, projected daily, customers, actual ticket size, operating days per month. Hey, we're going to be open Monday through Saturday, closed on Sundays for the Lord. Menu mix and average gross margin, seasonal changes. Hey, in December, when it gets cold, that's when we're going to take our vacations. So we're not out in the freezing cold when it's low traffic. Your monthly expenses, packaging, food, once again, labor, commissary, food, travel, monthly sales estimates, gross profit, break-even point, and ability to service debt. And then, of course, you want to show how it's going to run legally, workflow, your hours, your inventory control, waste prevention. Are you refrigerating things? How are you legally able to reuse stuff, repackage stuff, staffing plan, food safety, and compliance. You want to explain how demand is created and how risk is controlled. You're absolutely right. You want to have this big grand opening, right? You want to have a big grand opening so a bunch of people come in. But you got to show them how you created that, all right? You marketing, your consistent branding and social media presence. launch plan and grand opening, partnerships with events, churches, schools, and businesses, catering, repeat customer strategy, right? Do not rely on word of mouth. Everybody like, we built our business on word of mouth. We're just gonna have word of mouth. Well, the problem with word of mouth is whose mouth is it coming from, and how did that person know you? Right? So many businesses fail, probably the vast majority. Our product is so excellent, it sells itself until they close. Right? McDonald's makes billions of dollars and they still, daily, billions daily, and they still run commercials. Right? Don't rely on word of mouth. Word of mouth is a bonus to your business, not the business. Bad, risk mitigation. What happens when it's raining and you're in a food truck? When it's snowing, when it's cold? Equipment breakdown and repairs, food inflation and suppliers. So things to think about. And once again, you're going to have this PowerPoint to review from in this video. All right, and your supporting documents. Of course, you want to have all your legal stuff. You want to have your own resume, startup budget, your master recipe book and cost, menu pricing, business plan, executive summary. What's your executive summary? Do you think they're going to know about you? Probably, right? Yeah, you're there. Whose name is signing for this loan? You, right? Right? So you think they're going to want to know about you? You can't go there and just go, hey, put it in a business name. They're like, yeah. No, we need your social security, your name. Right? So yeah, they're going to want to know about you, your resume. And once again, have outside numbers. Don't just make up numbers and say, we're just going to sell 8 a day. Be able to show what the market supports. Be able to show what others are selling. Be able to show the demographics, right? All right, so this is how you're going to structure your presentation. You're going to do your presentation here in class. You're going to do it next week. Actually, I'm going to have you do it online, record a video, but don't worry about doing a social media post this week. Do your video. We'll play it next week. And this is how I want the structure. It should be 20 to 30 minutes, 2 minutes of an opening, 3-minute bar breakdown, 3-minute market opportunity, competition, menu recipe, all of that stuff, your startup budget, financial projections, operation risk, and your close. And your close is going to be kind of like you. And your opening and your close are going to talk about you, your building, and your brand. All right. A strong delivery sounds like this: confident, not defensive. How much does that straw cost? 1.5 cents. Hopefully you know, because I will ask questions. Your colleagues will ask questions. And if you don't know, hey, that's a great question. I should know that. I'll get that back to you. Specific, not vague. It costs 1.5 cents because you know what it costs. It costs somewhere around a nickel, I think, right? Professional, not casual. This is a professional business pitch, so don't be like, hey, how you doing? All right, things are good, and be loose. What I want in your video is for you to present it to the camera in a professional way, dress up, present it to the camera in a professional way. Data back, not hopeful. Not just, we believe this. Make it data back. All right, questions that you'll probably get. Why this concept and why now? Why will customers choose your truck instead of the other taco truck or whatever, food truck or whatever? How much of your own money are you putting into this? Why do you think they might want to know how much money you're putting in this? How much skin you got in the game? Are you just burning through all of our money, or are you putting some of your own in there? Right? What happens if sales start lower than expected? What instead of selling 8 tacos, you only sell 4? What do you do? Do you have enough, what is your plan if it doesn't go the way you think it is? How do you rebound? What collateral, personal support, or backup capacity do you have? What do you need for compliance? All right. Common mistakes that weaken your pitch. Vague. Why is it bad to be vague? Well, vague means you're not specific. How much does that straw cost? I don't know, probably 10 cents or less. Versus how much does that straw cost? They come in a box of 400. The box cost me $5. Each one is a nickel. Right. So being specific, No borrow or investment. The lender sees the little personal commitment. So you're not putting in your own money in this. And if you don't have a lot of your own money, that's fine, but that normally will hurt you. Weak projections. The numbers are rounded or random. They're not specific. Specificity is huge. Too much complexity. It's too hard for the borrower to even understand or the lender to understand your business. Or it looks more than you can manage. It looks like you're trying to open up your own investment firm. It would normally take 50 people, and it's just you. It looks like you can't handle it. No risk discussion. You don't pitch risk. You just tell them all the upside, and then they don't think that you understand the downside. No repayment language. Like you're not talking about repayment and paying back the loan. But pretty slides, weak proof. You don't have any outside data. All right. So 20, 30 minute pitch. You want to do it just like you're doing it to the bank. Do it to the camera. We'll play it, and then we will ask you questions. You can stand up here while it plays. And once again, think like an owner. Present like a borrower. Defend the business like someone asking for real money, because you will be asking for real money. All right. Any questions? All righty. So I think that is our time for the day. Make sure you go back and review the video, and be prepared with your pitches for next week. This is a big project, but all of the heavy lifting is done. You already have all of the data you need for your menus. You have all the data you need for your food trucks. You have all the data you need for your items. So half to 60% is already done. You just really got to work on your presentation and the numbers for your marketing and the numbers for your permits. But go through the PowerPoint, rewatch the video. All righty. Go ahead and high five somebody and say, we're about to do this. All right. High five somebody again more enthusiastically and say, we're about to do this. There you go.